Hello, I'm Barb Thompson, and I'm going to be showing you how to make a pocket journal today. These journals come in really handy for taking notes and keeping little bits of paper that you may want to save. So our pocket journal will have 12 pages to it, along with 6 pockets that you can put your little notes in. I've used these for my book clubs. So anything that I want to save about my book club, any of my notes, I keep in the pockets, and then on the pages I copy down things that I want to remember about my book. I might cut out the pictures of the book from magazines or make a little copy on my copy machine and then just keep my notes with it, and it's a nice little journal of everything that I've read for the year. So this is what we will be making. In your kit you will have 2 rolls of decorative paper. The brown paper roll is your practice paper, and then you will choose the colored paper for your finished book. You will also have a ruler for measuring, a scoring tool, and a piercing tool because we're going to be sewing the pages into our books, a pencil, a rubber band, and needle and thread for sewing your pages, the papers that you will need, a couple of paper clips, and everything has been labeled so you'll know what you need to use for your books. So when you are measuring the certain parts of the book, please make sure you have the appropriate pages, and I labeled them for you so you'll know which ones they are. And you will also have the directions. So you can follow along with me, or if you want to read through the directions, I illustrated them to match what I'm doing in the techniques. So there are 4 pages, but it seems lengthy, but it really is more words than I can say for how to put this together. I was just trying to be very precise in what I was doing, so that's the reason for all the words. So the first thing we're going to do is have your table area ready, and we're going to start with our practice paper. So you slide the paper off. Now these have been rolled, and this paper is actually wrapping paper that some of it, this brown paper is craft paper, so this will be a little bit thinner than what you're used to working with. And what you want to do is weigh down the corners so that it doesn't roll up on you. Put that there. And we're going to, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a spine down the center of the book, of the paper. So we're going to hold our ruler, and these are 12-inch rulers. You're going to hold it and mark a 1/2 inch. So you want to find the 1/2 inch increment and mark it on the bottom, in the middle, and at the top. And the reason for that is this paper is 13.5 inches by 18 inches, and it's going to make a 4-inch book. So you're going to have to measure a couple of times because you won't be able to hold the ruler along the whole width or length of the paper. So holding your ruler along those markings, you're lightly going to draw a pencil line. This will be the hem that we'll be tucking in later, but you want to make sure that you have a pencil line along the side. And then you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. So holding it at the edge of the ruler, just want to make sure that you've marked it at the 1/2 inch mark. So we're going to go from, make sure, and there's like a little bit of plastic left on your ruler, so you can line up the edge of your paper right along that increment line for the edge there. And then holding your ruler, and just kind of space your ruler a little bit beyond the line so that your pencil point can glide over it. And now you've got your paper marked. So you should have 2 pencil lines on your paper, on the left side and on the right side. Our paper is horizontal in front of us. Now you're going to take the right side and you're going to bring it over to that pencil line. So bringing it over to the pencil line, you're going to line it up even with the line. Kind of line up the bottom edge of the paper too, so that you're not folding it crooked. So you want to hold that there. The edge of my paper is even with the pencil line, and now I'm just going to gently smooth my paper to create a fold down the center. This will be creating the spine. Then, once you've done that side, you're going to repeat the process with the opposite side. So now taking your paper, line up the edge of the left side to the line that you've drawn on the right side. You don't want to go beyond your line. You want to keep it right at the line or just a little smidge before it. Just like that. Holding that down. Now you're going to gently smooth out your paper. This paper is a little lightweight. The weight of the paper is important. Something really heavy is difficult to fold, and something lightweight will be a little floppy, but for a practice sheet, this is just great. And then you're going to open your paper, and you will see down the center 2 creases that create, this is going to be the spine of our book. Now we're going to take the left side, bring it to that first fold that you created. You're going to bring the edge of the left side to the first fold, and you're going to fold that again. Now you're going to bring the right side to the fold. Don't go past the fold, just keep it right there. And crease it. Make sure your bottom edge and your top edge are even too. So once you have this done, you're going to unfold those edges and put a little bit of weight on the sides there for right now, just to help hold that down. And the pencil line that you have drawn along the edges is now going to be the area that we're going to score with our scoring tool. This is a scoring tool, and this edge here is what we're going to use to draw along this line with the help of our ruler. And the opposite side is a piercing tool. And the piercing tool is going to be to poke holes in the folds of our pages so that we can sew the pages together in a signature. So what you want to do, and I just put a little bit of tape on there to keep that on so it doesn't pop off while you're scoring. So in order to score, you're going to hold the ruler along that line, move it back just a little ways so you'll have room for your scoring tool to rest on the line, and then you're going to score it. And by scoring it, you're really putting a crease in the paper to help it fold over. So we're scoring the paper to create a crease, and now we want to fold this flap over. You can keep your ruler there to kind of smooth this out. Just align it against the line, and now we're going to fold this down. And this has created a hem. This little hem on our book, and I can show you on this one, this little hem is tucked here. So this is the side of your book, and the spine is going to be a cardboard spine that's going to slide in there. So this creates a nice edge. If you wanted your paper to come all the way to the edge of your book, and I believe I have one here, here's another one. This is how it looks unfolded. If you don't want that and you want it to come all the way to the end, you can skip this step, but this is another way to do it. So once you have that side done, then you're going to create a triangle by taking the corners and bringing them up to that first fold, just like that. Holding it there, we're going to fold it on a diagonal to create a triangle. And we're going to do the top and bottom corners. So holding it here. So we've created our folder, and now we're going to fold this over once more. It's going to come a little short of that fold line and that spine. That's what you want. So this side is done. Now we're going to do the same thing with the opposite side. So you're going to hold your ruler. I'm going to hold it this way. I guess because I'm right-handed, I like to put it to this side. But the important thing is that you're scoring on the line that you've drawn. And so by leaving just a little bit of space, you want to make sure you get your score folder, your score point to that. So we're going to hold it here and score again. And I want to use my ruler to help me fold it over, because this is only a 1/2 inch hem. This is kind of small. But that little crease is there, so that's already helping us. And the ruler just helps you keep it in place so that you don't fold it in the wrong spot. And then once it's folded, you gently press down. And now you've got another hem on your left side. The next step was to fold the corners to that first fold. So we're going to take the bottom edge, fold it here, and we'll do the same thing with the top. So taking your top, and make sure you don't go past that fold, because that will throw off your dimensions and your book will be crooked. So once those two flaps are folded on a triangle, you're going to bring this over and press down. It's kind of like a big envelope. Okay, so now from this part, now you're going to turn your paper over. So now you just see the blank side. You'll still see a little bit of your crease coming down the center. We're going to start at the top of our paper. At the top, you align your ruler, and holding it even with the edge right there. Now you're going to come down to 4.5 inches. So we're going to make a little mark with our pencil on the right side and on the left side, holding it even with the edge of the paper. Make a little mark by 4.5 inches, holding your ruler right here underneath those lines. Allow a little room for the score tool to meet the marks that you've made. Now we're going to score this way. Taking your paper up and over. By holding the ruler there, it kind of ensures that you're right on your line. And now you're going to fold this top flap down. You always want to press firmly on your folds. So if they're a little puffy, you just keep pressing down. Now we're going to bring the bottom half up. So where the edge of your paper is, you want your crease, and you can just kind of eyeball it, but you're just going to take it up and fold it over. There's going to be a little bit of a gap at the top. That's fine. You want to see that, because it will be too tight if you try to go all the way up to the top. So you fold that upwards like that, then you unfold it. Now, these two corners of the bottom are going to slide into these little triangle pockets that we made up here at the top. So what you want to do is you want to take your paper, kind of roll it a little bit, and fit those corners under the flaps. Once you fit them, you're gently going to guide them upward, kind of pull it, so that it goes all the way to the top, just like that. You can take your scoring tool or even your ruler and just kind of help push it in to make sure that that corner has gotten in there. So because this paper is so thin, this is a little puffy. So what I'm going to do is press it down gently. And just kind of push on the folds. You don't want to make new folds because you've spent so much time measuring the folds you've got. You want to make sure that everything is measured. Then you're going to fold it on this first fold of your spine. You bring it over. The fold is already there, and you want to press. And then the second fold of the spine, we're going to do the same thing with that one too. So there you have it. This is going to be the cover of your book. There's a little flap in here too, but your pockets are basically here on the inside. And if you wanted to, here's a back pocket here too. Yeah, there's pockets on the very end as well. So you've got the spine of your book, the front cover, and then these flaps here are going to hold the signature for the next book. So if you see on my book, got all my notes in here from my book club, you can see that I slid my inside pages underneath these two flaps. So that's what we're going to be doing next. We're going to make the inside of our books. Some people like to just keep it just like this, but I think it's nicer with the pages inside. So, but that's an option. Some people just, you know, have like a little pocketbook. So now we're going to start on our good copy. Now that we've practiced on this, we kind of know what to expect, how to use our tools, and how to mark things and line it up. So taking your next paper, which is your good copy now, we're going to repeat those steps. We'll do the same thing. So I brought this painter's tape because I thought we could probably put a little bit of tape on the edges just to hold the paper down. The paper is on a roll, so it is a little wobbly. You could try to reverse it, but sometimes you get creases in the paper. So I like to just hold it down while I can, just to try to help me as I'm arranging it. Now you'll notice that the good paper, the paper for the finished book, is a little heavier than the first practice paper. So that's a good thing, because it forms a, you know, the paper is really important, and every paper has a weight. So the weight of this this paper is really nice. It's just nice wrapping paper. I get my paper from Paper Source in Oak Brook. There's several locations, but Oak Brook has a nice selection of papers, and you can even buy handmade papers there. Some of my books were made with handmade papers. This paper was actually from Italy. My friend brought this back from Italy for me. So this is all handmade paper that I use for this particular book. And you can get handmade papers at Paper Source, Blick Art Supplies. You can make your own paper, but again, the paper has to be pretty big. From such a big sheet, it really folds down nicely into a nice little compact book. So we're going to do those hems again on the side. So holding your pencil, make sure that you're at the 1/2 inch increment. And because the ruler is a little shorter, you are going to have to measure in the center as well. And then draw your lines. You don't want to press too hard with your pencil. You kind of want a light line, light enough to see. I mean, dark enough to see, but not, you don't want it to go through to the other side. And we'll do the same thing on this side. So holding your ruler at the 1/2 inch increment, mark it. Just hold it here. No matter which increment you choose, as long as you find the 1/2 inch mark, that's all that's important. And then we will draw our line. So holding your ruler against there, we allow a little space for the pencil to go. Here. Okay. Now I'm going to do that spine fold again. So I'm going to take the right side, bring it over to my left side, align it with my pencil lines. You don't want to go past it. You want to be right at it. And if the paper is just slightly uneven, I cut all of these by hand. It's okay, because all of this gets folded and you're not going to see the edge of this paper unless you don't do the hem on the side, but I think the hem is a nice finished touch. So holding your paper down, crease it again. You could even take your scoring tool to help press down on that fold. Because it's been rolled, it's been a little open there. Put this here as I align the next side. So now I'm going to do the left side, bring it over to the right, and create my spine. The spine is a 1/2 inch spine, and if you'd like to put those washi tapes or other things, ribbons, a little title to your journal, you could write on the spine. You could put stickers on the spine. There's a lot you can do with that. Okay, so now I've got my center spine, my 1/2 inch spine. I have to create another fold down the center here. So I'm going to take the left side over, bring it to the first fold, line it up. Don't go past the fold. and crease. And I'm going to do the same thing with the right side. Bring it over to that second fold, which is on the right side there. Make sure I'm right at the fold and not over it. I've got that. Now I'm going to create that hem again by holding my ruler along the line, taking my scoring tool and scoring the line. We'll have to move our ruler down to allow for that 13.5 inches. And now I'm going to help with my ruler, help that paper come up and fold right on that scored line and press down. Now I'm going to take this bottom corner, create my triangle by bringing it to that first fold. I'm having a little hard time seeing these folds in this light, so what I'm going to do, just to make sure I don't go past it, I'm holding my ruler there again, and I'm very lightly going to put a pencil line down. That's going to help me see my line. Depending on your lighting, it might be hard to see the fold. So I'm going to bring my triangle up here, crease it, take my top triangle, bring it to the fold, and crease that. You don't want to go past the fold. And now I'm going to bring this down. And again, really smooth out your folds, push down to make sure they're nice and crisp. And that side is done. So I think I'm going to draw a little line on this fold too. I don't know why it's harder to see. The white seems really bright. Some of the paper may have squares on it for the wrapping paper, so just that might help you keep a line. There, it might go right through your fold, I'm not sure, but kind of helps me. Okay, at least I can see where that fold is. First though, I have to make the hem. So holding my ruler against the line, leaving a little space for the scoring tool to fit. I'm now going to take my scoring tool, score the line, create that little crease, move it down here a little bit, create the crease, and now I want to fold over that crease with the help of my ruler. So you never want to force paper, you just want to kind of help it because you don't want it to be wrinkled or creased in the wrong spot. These rulers are nice and thin, they'll help you, guide you nicely. Okay, so now this is smoothed out, and there's my little hem. So now I'm going to bring it to my fold. I don't want to go past the fold, so I'll hold it a little bit before it. Yeah, if you go past the fold, what's going to happen is you're going to have extra paper there, and it's going to be really bunchy, and it'll throw off the dimensions of your book. So you do want to make sure you are right at the fold, right before it. And then you bring this over. And now we've got this side done, and we'll flip our paper over for the finished book. So this is what this side looks like. Now we're going to flip it over. The patterns, I chose patterns for this project that are random. I mean, if you wanted a pattern that had a definite direction to it, you have to watch the direction of your fold. These could have been sideways or upside down if I didn't fold it right. So the pattern one is really nice because it's forgiving. It doesn't matter if you're up or down. It's kind of all over the place. All right, so now taking your ruler, we're going to measure again at our 4.5 mark. Then move it over to the left side, hold it even with the top, measure at 4. You want to make sure it doesn't move on you. Measure right at 4.5. Taking your ruler now, hold it with the 4.5 mark and score. So as you've scored it, you've created that nice crease again, and now you're gently going to help your paper up and over the crease. This is going to be okay. So now we're going to bring this top half down so it creates our paper. And you also want to make sure that you've lined it up correctly, so you don't want to go past these sides either. And again, really press on your folds. Okay, now I'm ready to bring the bottom half up and over. I'm going to watch that, and I know that if I have a little bit of a gap, it's probably not even 1/4 of an inch, maybe like 3/16 of an inch up there at the top, and then we crease it. Just like that. Okay. Now, the heavier paper might be a little bit harder to get under those flaps, but what we're going to do is just take our time, and we might want to do one side at a time. And it might help to kind of roll it and curl it to kind of help guide it under this flap. And the same thing with this side. So we're going to gently lift it up, lift up that little top flap, help your bottom of the paper into the pockets up the top. Kind of helps it with the ruler too. There. You can kind of feel, you'll have that nice feel that it's smoothed out, that there's no, it is a little puffy, but we folded a lot of paper. So now we want to crease it again by closing our book along that first crease, just like that, and then the second crease. And that's our spine. So we've created a nice little spine for our book. And that's how it will go. So this is the part that we're going to work on next. This is going to be the outer spine. Now, on the papers that are in your packet, we've tried to color match the paper as carefully as we could. And there's several papers in here, so I'd like to explain what these are. There's an outer spine that's going to wrap around this pocket that's going to go in through here. Then there's an inner spine that's going to go inside these pockets in here. They're different sizes. This one is just a little bit longer. The outer spine is going to help keep the book nice and firm. Nice. It's going to be a nice book shape and keep it together. So the outer spine is what we're going to work on. Be aware of the ones that you're choosing for these, because the inner spine will be done later. So we're going to put that to the side. Then you have these text block pages. These are going to be the pages of your book. I've included 6 pages, which when you fold them in half, create 12 pages of your book. The cover, the color cover, just kind of gives it a nice finished look. So that's why that one's included. And on some of my books, on this particular one, I had put a little fortune telling from a cookie at a party I'd gone to, and so I just put that in there. And then this was the beginning of my book for 2020. I made this one in 2019. So that cover kind of gives it a nice finished look. But if you choose that you don't want as many pages, you don't have to use all of the white pages, but this is going to be the inside of the book. So we'll put that to the side too. So now we're going to work with our outer spine. As I said, this is going to fit nicely right in through here. But first we have to fold it. So I'm going to take off our flag. And then holding your paper horizontally in front of you, you're going to hold your ruler. You'll see it measures 9 inches. And you're going to mark it at 4 1/4 and 4 3/4. That's going to match that 1/2 inch spine that's going to go down the center. We're going to bring it to the bottom, mark it at 4 1/4 and 4 3/4. Then, holding our ruler, again we're going to score it with our scoring tool. Get it right there in between those two increments and crease it. So this paper is a little heavy, it's sturdy because you want to reinforce your book with this. So you really want to press firmly on that fold. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And crease it with the bone folder or the scoring tool. If you make books and you are have other paper supplies like a bone folder, this is a bone folder, and this does the same trick. It's weighted a little bit. They used to make them out of bone, but now they make them out of plastic. But this has a nice pointed tip if you wanted to use, if you have one and you'd like to use one. But this scoring tool does the same thing. So scoring tool, bone folders, they're basically bookmaking supplies that are important because it helps guide you to be precise. Okay, so this is going to be my outer spine. Now I'm going to slide it into these pockets here by lining it up carefully. And there's going to be a very slight gap at the top and the bottom because if it matched it, we wouldn't be able to slide it all the way in. So I'm going to help it on that side. Now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to guide this side in the pocket. So you just want to start it in the pocket and push. So what I do is I just take my fingers and I push inside on the inner spine and kind of work it slowly. Again, you never really want to force your paper. You want to kind of take your time to get it in there. And eventually, you can see the two spines will line up. So now you've got a reinforced spine to your book. Again, you can just kind of work it and help it to stay sturdy. So you can always refold on your folds to help it. And it's puffy, I mean, it's a brand new book. So what you want to do is align the edges, and then with your rubber band, this will just help hold it in place, you know, just to kind of get some of the puffiness down a little bit. But you want to align your book together. So that's how that's going to be. All right, so we're going to set that aside, and now we'll work on our inner spine in our textbook pages. We'll start with the textbook pages first because there's going to be some important measurements for the sewing part of the project. So we're going to take our papers and fold them in half. And you want to align the... Now some people will take the whole thing and fold it all together. What's going to happen is you're going to get a little fringe on the edge once all the pages, and it's quite possible that you might fold crooked or something's not going to be. So what I like to do is I like to fold each one and then I'm going to put them inside the other. So opening up my cover text, put that page in, and then you're just going to go down the way and just keep adding these one at a time. So this is going to be a 6-page or a 12-page book with the 6 pages of paper. If you want them to be less, you can take out some. You don't have to put them all in. But basically, you want this to all be together. And you can use paper clips to keep it together. I just put it on the binding, the little paper that I wrapped around them. So you want to keep these all together because now you're going to measure for the holes that we're going to punch in the spine along the center fold. So taking your center fold now, you're going to mark it for 3 holes. And these measurements are going to be at, this is 4.5 inches wide. So there's my 4.5. So we want to have our holes evenly distributed. So what we're going to do is find the center, the very middle of it, and we're going to mark it at 2 1/4, 1 1/8, We're going to make that little mark right on the fold. So I've got 1 1/8, 2 1/4, and the next one is 3 3/8. So be aware of your little increments, between the 1/2 inch, the 1/4 inch, the 1/8 inch marks. So you want to be at 3 3/8 inches. So those are my holes that I'm going to now push the piercing tool through to create the part that I'm going to sew. So I want to take off the cover. This is very sharp, so you do want to be careful. And holding your booklet up like a laptop, you're now going to take your piercing tool and just very slowly wiggle the piercing tool through the hole. You can see it coming through on the other side. And you want to stay right on the fold. So you can kind of make it a little bit bigger because you want to get your needle through there. And then we're going to hold our paper together, push on the fold. Make sure your fingers are away from that, and you're just going to very carefully push that through, just like that. So now we've got 3 holes that we will sew together, sew the pages together that way. But first we're going to have to put them on the inside spine. So the inside spine is now this 4 1/2 by 8 3/4 inch cardstock that matches the paper as carefully as I could. I like to kind of coordinate all the papers, so that's why we chose these. So now I've got to create another spine, and then this paper is going to rest and be sewn into the center of the spine. So we have to find the center of this paper. Turning this paper horizontally in front of you, take your ruler, line it up. Now this is going to be 8 3/4. So the center of the 8 3/4 is 4 3/8. So I'm going to find my 4 3/8, mark it, and then mark it at the bottom so that we're even. 2, 3, 4 3/8. Now I'm lightly going to draw a pencil line. So we lightly draw a pencil line. Now we have to measure it again, because now we have to create that folded edge of the spine at a 1/2 inch. So now we're going to mark it at 4 1/4, or excuse, 4 1/8, sorry, 4 1/8. So we're going to mark it at 4 1/8 and 4 5/8. And you will see that that's going to be a 1/2 inch mark for this, where we're going to fold that. So now we're going to hold the edge again, mark it at 4 1/8 and 4 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, just want to double. Always, measure twice, and then what's that saying? Measure twice, cut once. Well, we're not cutting, but we want to make sure that you are accurate in your measurements. So now we'll take and put your cap back on so you don't poke yourself. But you want to hold that there and score it. Because this inside spine is going to fit right alongside the spine of your book. So we've got that folded, and now we're going to score the other one. All of the dimensions are written down in the directions, so if you're in doubt, just double check. So this is kind of puffy, so I really want to press firmly with my creases and kind of go back and forth. Really make sure that it's pressed firmly and that your edges of your paper are all aligned so that it's not a crooked book. Okay, so now this is going to be my inside spine. Once your text block is aligned with the pencil line inside the spine of the inner spine, you are going to take your pencil now and put a little dot on the line, on the pencil line of the spine, right next to the hole of the text block. This way you're going to sew it in the right spots. So take that, and you can see that my dots will all line up. Now I'm going to take my piercing tool again. I'm going to hold it up like a laptop, poke the hole through and poke the hole through here. So these 3 holes will align with my text block holes. And you can kind of wiggle that around to make it a little bit bigger hole so you can get the needle through. The needles are with a blunted tip. They're not real sharp needles, but you do want to make sure that they pass through. Inside this little bag is a little card with your needle and thread. And there should be just enough thread to sew through your signatures, sew through your pages. When all the pages are sewn together, that's called a signature. So if I'm saying signature, that's what that means. So you don't need to knot it. I like to keep a double thread because this is not very thick thread, so we want to make sure that it's nice and strong. So we double it up. So now what you're going to do is you are going to sew your pages to the spine. So going through, there's 3 holes here, 1, 2, 3. We're going to go through hole number 2, which is right in the middle, and we're going to bring our thread through and leave a little bit of a tail because you want to be able to tie a knot at the end, so you don't want this to go all the way through with you. So as a matter of fact, if you wanted to put a little bit of painter's tape on there just so it doesn't pull all the way through, you might want to do that too. So you probably want a tail that's just like 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, because you want to be able to grasp it to be able to tie a knot. So you pull this through, you go through hole number 2 of your text block, and just slowly push your needle through the center, pull it so that it's taut. You don't want it to be floppy. So that's going through hole number 2. Now from hole number 2, I'm going to come into hole number 1 on the inside, and there are several pages here, so you want to just kind of gently wiggle your needle through. You don't want the holes to be too big, and then you're going to pull it taut so that you're pulling it to the spine. Go through hole number 1 on the spine, and you're coming out the other side. So we've sewn it, and you just gently pull on it to make sure that it's not floppy. Now we're going to go through the last hole, which is hole number 3. So on the outside of the spine, wiggle your needle through that last hole, and then taking your needle, you can wiggle through that one, pull, make sure that it's nice and straight, and now we're going to go through hole number 2. I can see that I've got like a little thread bunched up, so I'm going to pull on that to tighten it. Now I'm going to wiggle through hole number 2 again and out the spine. Now I'm coming out the spine this side, and you want to really make sure that you pull this neatly. Pull it like that so that this is nice and straight, and so are those inside your book. So now you're going to take the ends of your string, tie it. I like to tie it twice to make sure that it's in a nice knot. So you're going to tie it in a slip knot, and then with your scissors just cut off the thread from the needle. So you've got, that's going to be, so here's my little signature. You can also remove these paper clips now. The only reason why you needed the paper clips was because you wanted to make sure that your pages stayed together when you were doing the piercing. So now I'm ready to put it inside my pockets. So taking this, I forgot to mention, if you want to erase that pencil line so you don't see it on the inside, you can do that too. But it's really not seen because the spine of your text pages are actually along that line. So now I'm going to gently guide this inside spine inside these pockets. So I'm going to lift up on my pocket and gently guide it in. And I'm going to slowly push this because, again, you don't want to force it. And it's slightly shorter than the outside spine so that you can get it in there. You don't want anything to bunch up. So now you can see that this crease here is even with the crease on that spine there. So that's one side. So now I'm going to take the opposite side and push it in this way. Now it's really hard to bend this to push it in. So what I like to do is I like to take this side of my pocket and fold it backwards like this. Then I'm going to take my cardstock inner spine and gently roll it. Roll it inside there. I'm going to lift up my flaps and try to roll it in this way. Gently pushing until it goes all the way through. Now, this might take a little bit of work, but now that's aligned along the spine. And then just fold it down again and close it. And there is your pocket journal. So it's going to be puffy. So that's why when I first make these, I put like a little rubber band, so you don't want to clamp it where you're going to see the engraving of a clamp or a paper clip on there, and that kind of holds it together pretty nicely. And there you have your pocket journal. Enjoy.